7 days in January, how Trump pushed U.S. and Iran to the brink of war. The story of that week, and the secret planning in the months preceding it, ranks as the most perilous chapters so far in President Trump's 3 years in office. Washington: the plane was late and the kill team was worried. International listings showed that Wings Airlines Flight 6Q501, scheduled to take off from Damascus at 7:30 p.m. for Baghdad, had departed, but in fact, an informant at the airport reported, it was still on the ground and the targeted passenger had not yet shown up. The hours ticked by and some involved in the operation wondered if it should be called off. Then, just before the plane door closed, a convoy of cars pulled up on the tarmac carrying Major General Qasem Soleimani, Iran's security mastermind, who climbed on board along with 2 escorts. Flight 6Q501 lifted off, 3 hours late, bound for the Iraqi capital. The plane landed at Baghdad International Airport just after midnight at 12:36 a.m., and the first to disembark were General Soleimani and his entourage. Waiting at the bottom of the gangway was Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, an Iraqi official in charge of militias and close to Iran. 2 cars carrying the group headed into the night shadowed by American MQ-9 Reaper drones. At 12:47, the first of several missiles smashed into the vehicles, engulfing them in flames and leaving 10 charred bodies inside. The operation that took out General Soleimani, the commander of the Quds Force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, propelled the United States to the precipice of war with Iran and plunged the world into 7 days of roiling uncertainty. The story of those 7 days, and the secret planning in the months preceding them, ranks as the most perilous chapters so far in President Trump's 3 years in office after his decision to launch an audacious strike on Iran, and his attempt through allies and a back channel to keep the ensuing crisis from mushrooming out of control. The president's decision to ratchet up decades of simmering conflict with Iran set off an extraordinary worldwide drama, much of which played out behind the scenes. In capitals from Europe to the Middle East, leaders and diplomats sought to head off a full-fledged new war, while at the White House and Pentagon, the president and his advisors ordered more troops to the region. Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler was so alarmed he dispatched his brother to Washington for a clandestine meeting with Mr. Trump. European leaders, incensed at being kept in the dark, scrambled to keep Iran from escalating. If it did, Americans developed plans to strike a command and control ship and conduct a cyber attack to partly disable Iran's oil and gas sector. But the United States also sent secret messages through Swiss intermediaries urging Iran not to respond so forcefully that Mr. Trump would feel compelled to go even further. After it did respond, firing 16 missiles at bases housing American troops without hurting anyone as a relatively harmless show of force, a message came back through the Swiss saying that would be the end of its reprisal for now. The message, forwarded to Washington within 5 minutes after it was received, persuaded the president to stand down. When the week ended without the war many feared, Mr. Trump boasted that he had taken out an American enemy. But the struggle between 2 nations is not really over. Iran may find other ways to take revenge. Iraqi leaders may expel American forces, accomplishing in death what General Soleimani tried and failed to do in life. And in the confusion, a Ukrainian civilian passenger jet was destroyed by an Iranian missile, killing 176 people. The episode briefly gave Mr. Trump's allies something to cheer, distracting from the coming Senate impeachment trial. But now he faces questions even among Republicans about the shifting justifications for the strike that he and his national security team have offered. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo initially cited the need to forestall an imminent attack, and the president has amplified that to say 4 American embassies were targeted. But administration officials said they did not actually know when or where such an attack might occur, and one State Department official said it was a mistake to use the word imminent. And some senior military commanders were stunned that Mr. Trump picked what they considered a radical option with unforeseen consequences. This account, based on interviews with dozens of Trump administration officials, military officers, diplomats, intelligence analysts, and others in the United States, Europe and the Middle East, offers new details about what may be the most consequential 7 days of the Trump presidency. If they enter the compound, kill them. The confrontation may have actually begun by accident. For years, Iran has sponsored proxy forces in Iraq, competing for influence with American troops who first arrived in the invasion of 2003. Starting last fall, Iranian-backed militias launched rockets at Iraqi bases that house American troops, shattering nerves more than doing much damage. So when rockets smashed into the K-1 military base near Kirkuk on December 27, killing an American civilian contractor, Nor's Waleed Hamid, and injuring several others, the only surprise was the casualties. Kataib Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia group held responsible, had fired at least 5 other rocket attacks on bases with Americans in the previous month without deadly results. American intelligence officials monitoring communications between Kataib Hezbollah and General Soleimani's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps learned that the Iranians wanted to keep the pressure on the Americans but had not intended to escalate the low-level conflict. The rockets landed in a place and at a time when American and Iraqi personnel